Hey, good morning, everyone. We are starting a brand new project. This one is going to be, if it comes out like Ryan and I think it will, I think it's going to be pretty cool. But we've got a lot of work to do. So this is for a friend of mine, Kevin, out of California. Actually, I've known Kevin for 25, 30 years, and he has a hot rod. He's not only got a hot rod, he has a show car, 1970 Charger, Dodge Charger RT, and it is, you guys will see pictures of it. It is amazing. Anyway, he asked if Ryan and I could make him a sign for his car to go to shows, because he's starting to show his car and he wants something really super cool to go with this super cool car. So we're going to do our best to create something really cool for him. So he wants it 30 by 30, which is a pretty good size, and there's a lot of writing on here. As a matter of fact, you'll see right here a poster. Ryan's going to superimpose this poster of all the stuff that he wants on here, along with some color pictures. Anyway, I think it's going to be really neat if it comes out the way Ryan and I are visualizing. But, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to make this out of redwood, 2-inch redwood. This is kind of my preferred way to laminate boards these days is 2-inch redwood. So Ryan, if you can come down here, I want to show you, this is just a little bit of the 2-inch redwood that we bought. We cut them to 34, and we're going to do some milling, and we're going to do that in a few minutes. You'll see that out on the patio. We're going to do some milling on camera. But here's something that I thought would be educational for you. So this is these are 2x4 redwood 2x4s, and I knew that this had some weight to it, but I didn't realize how much moisture it had in it. If you look at that, when you see it stained like that when you cut it, man, that's got a lot of moisture. So this is a good opportunity to use our new moisture meter that we've been talking about. And this is the one that we have in our Amazon store. So I'm going to actually do a little tutorial on it. See that little, let me see. How do I know there's a way to keep that light on. I think that might be it. It's got a little picture of a tree there. But if you go to a different mode, that's a picture of a house, which is more for like drywall, for inspecting houses and stuff. Anyway, we want that mode right there, the tree mode. And then basically you just put these two prongs in the wood and it will tell you what the moisture is. Assuming that you have the category picked. So the instruction manual actually has all these different types of woods, and each one has a designated letter to it. So when you use that, when you look at that, you can see that there's a, I don't know, what is that, a B down there?
Yeah. When
you hit that arrow, you go over at the very bottom to different categories of woods. And we looked it up on the sheet, and redwood is a category B. Isn't that what we said it was? Yeah. So based on that, once you do that, then you're good to go. So let's see how these two boards compare. This one weighs about 3 times what this one does. So let's see if we can make this work here. Can you see this, Ryan?
Yep, we're good.
So that's not even showing anything.
Hang on, let me get up.
That's like super dry. That's not showing any moisture whatsoever. Let's see what this one says. Whoa, 29. At one point it said 29 there. 31%. Yowza, that is wet, man. So, this is one that we're going to set up on the rack, and we ain't going to use this one, obviously. That would not cut well. Now, we have some boards out there that are around 10 or 12, and they feel just fine. I think we're going to be able to use them no problem at all. But I just wanted to do that little demo on this thing, because this is really a cool little deal. We got these in our Amazon store. I don't know, I think it was like 25 bucks or something like that. But that really gives you a really good comparison of what a wet board is like. And if it feels really heavy, chances are it's got a lot of moisture. And this board is going to be just fine. It just has to set for a few weeks out here. Maybe where you're at, it has to set for a few years. I don't know. But out here in a couple weeks, that'll probably be ready to go. Anyway, guys, now we're going to move out to the porch and we're going to start our milling process with a joiner. And I'll show you how we do that. All right, folks. So now we've got our pieces all cut to, again, our finished piece is going to be 30 by 30. So I've cut these all to 34 just to give me extra at both ends. A combination of 2x4s and 2x6s. And we're going to run these through the joiner. Now, normally this lives in our cave that's right next to us here, but we thought we'd bring it out here because I hadn't really done one in a long time using the joiner, and how I've kind of figured out through watching other YouTubers how to use a joiner. I used to be really frustrated with this thing. I didn't know how to use it, but finally I've kind of got it figured out, or at least we're going to hope that I do, because you guys will see that. Hey, Mag. So the first thing that you got to do is, for me, is take one side of the flat side, the surface, take that through the joiner. And then that gives you a flat surface to put against the fence. Now this particular board, we're going to pick this as our face. So this is the part that I'm going to run through the joiner. Yeah, I think there's plenty of, yeah, actually, you know what? I changed my mind. We're going to run this side through the joiner. Now this side is already being run through the table saw, but that doesn't mean it's square. We're going to run this side through the joiner, and then we'll run the edges. This has still got the round over edge that it comes with. So anyway, stick with me and we'll get through this. So I've got one of these gripper things and I really like this. I don't want any flaps. So here we go. Take and put that against the fence. Now, in essence, these edges, these two edges and this edge should be 90 degrees to each other. We'll find out when we go to put all these things together. If I wanted to surface this, I would run this through my thickness planer so that it would do identical to what this is on this edge here. I'm not going to do that because it actually, all my boards look fairly square. I don't think that that's going to be a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and mill up the rest of these boards exactly what I did here. We'll put them together and see if we actually have square edges. We'll be right back. All right, boys and girls, so we have run all of these through the joiner, the surface, one surface, both edges, and I think we've pretty much kind of oriented them, the color, the scheme that we wanted here. We kind of mixed and matched, and we'll take a look and see how our actual joints came out. And I got to say, I'm really happy with that. That's with no glue in there at all, and those joints are pretty tight. So I think we did a pretty good job on the joiner. Again, we did one surface, and from that surface we did both of the edges. And yeah, it worked out pretty good. So since we've got, I normally do my glue ups inside, but since we've got this 3/4 inch, oh, that's another thing that I wanted to say. Before, when we were laying these out, we were doing it on the bench with a bench mat, but you have to have an absolutely flat surface. So we got a piece of 3/4 inch MDF, and now we know we're on a flat surface. Now when we put our clamps under there, we know everything is going to glue up tight. So stick with us. When we come back, we'll have our clamps set up, and we'll get this thing glued up. So we are ready to do our glue up. We've got all of our boards set. All of our clamp bars are covered with packing tape. So that should, I haven't done that a lot, but I know that that is kind of a thing, so I want to give it a try. We've got all these boards set up in sequence of what they need to be. The biggest thing that I can say on something like this, guys, is preparation. Preparation really makes a huge difference. So you try to prepare for anything that could go wrong. And so I'm going to use Titebond 3 on this. Titebond 2 probably would work just fine, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because of the length of these things, I think I'm just going to squeeze it on there and then do most of the glue part of this off camera. I'm just going to do one here, and I'm going to use the brush and just make sure that that this whole thing is covered. What you don't want is, again, guys, I'm not a professional at this. I make it work, and it always seems to work out for me, but I've always been kind of an over gluer, because I don't, but I know that that's not necessarily the right thing to do. But what I do know is that you want every piece of that surface covered, and you don't want anything there that is not going to get glue on it. So I think that looks pretty good, and it's pretty warm out here, so I'm going to have to kind of keep this whole process going. So I'm going to do the rest of this off camera. When I get ready to lay these down and clamp them up, we'll come back on. Be right back.
All right, we're recording.
Okay, all right, so let's lay these down. We got our glue on there, spread nice and even. Okay, there we go. Oh, now that figures. There we go. All right.
I might have pushed those things out too far.
Okay, so now we're going to be trimming these at the ends, so they don't have to be absolutely perfectly aligned on the ends, but we want them somewhere close. Get a little squeeze out going. Now we've got clamps we want to put on the top. You don't have to be in a huge hurry here, but you do want to stay moving. Make sure that give yourself enough time. Put a little pressure on there. Could have been a little bit better prepared with these, but I think we're still good.
Can we get out of the way, Dad? You can come over on this side.
No, you're fine. This is good. We got pretty even clamperage going on. Just kind of snug them down. Now we're going to put our cawls on. Ryan, if you can hand me some of those clamps over there.
Yeah.
And probably a couple more. So these are just going to try and keep them somewhat even front to back. These are just one by Redwood Calls, and they're covered with packing tape as well. And they're just, fortunately, just long enough that they'll work for this project. Otherwise, I would have had to make some more. I think they're going to work. Again, we're not building fine furniture, guys. This is not, if you're wanting to make fine furniture, this ain't the channel for you guys. That is for sure. This will be enough. That'll be good, right? This one's stiff. Should have worked on that before. All right, I'll come over that other side. Put these on the other side. Again, we cut these boards 4 inches long, so we're going to have no problem being on our 30-inch. Ooh, that's close. Let's bring that down a little bit more. No problem getting our 30 by 30 board out of there. And that's just a rough estimate anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Put some more clamps on that. All right, guys, I think you can see what's going on here. We're going to put some more clamps on because we have them. And in the meantime, this thing will start drying up. When we come back, we'll get this thing out of the clamps and we'll trim it up and get it going. Start the layout process so you guys will see the whole process all the way through. So stick with us. When we come back, we'll take this thing out of the clamps. Hey guys, all right, let's get going on this thing. So now off of camera, I went ahead and took this board out of the clamps. I surfaced it down both sides. I did some Starbond fill. There were a couple little knots, a couple little areas that I needed to fill, but I got the board all prepped, ready to go. Now what we're planning on here is we're going to do a border all the way around, a 2-inch border all the way around. That's what these lines represent. So when you're doing something like this, guys, the biggest thing that is that can kind of be daunting is when you've got this much copy on a sign, and this is a lot. It can kind of be overwhelming. Like, I don't even know where to start, what size letters or anything. So in that instance, you really have to just break it down. And that's what I'm going to do for you here, is show you what I did kind of off camera. When I get something like this, it's got all of that copy on there. It used to just blow my mind. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to figure this out. So what you do is you take your layout letters, figure out, number one, your longest line. Make sure that the line that's on here, that you can fit within the area that you've got. Once you determine that, then figure out what size letters are going to work based on how many lines of copy, your spacing, and all that. So I've kind of done most of that off camera, but I'm going to show you how it kind of comes out and how it kind of translates. So again, this is all the copy. The only thing that is not going to be on the sign that's on here is that Mopar. I'm not going to put the Mopar on, but everything else, all that copy is going to be on there. Now, So I've cut my layout letters. Fortunately, we have a laser, and I figured out what font I wanted to use and all that. You guys might have a vinyl cutter, so you can do that with your vinyl cutter, and that is a good instance to do that. But you guys could also do it with the layout letters that you have, or if you're doing a transfer. This can't really be done with a transfer unless I reprinted all of this and then did it with a transfer, that's another way you could do it. With me, I really like layout letters, so that's the way I decided to do it. Now, what we've decided to do, rather than carve the image of the car, we printed out some pictures. So we're going to have a series of pictures going across the board that is going to be underneath those top two lines. So we've got, and what I've done is I've broken down all of the layout letters for each particular line, which there's like 10 of them. I've broken them down and I put them in little cups just to make it easy for me to figure all that out. So the top line is going to say the 1970 Dodge Charger. I'll put that there just so you guys can see it. The top two lines are going to be outset. So I've got to give myself room for the cloud because, again, my border is going to be here. So I've got to give myself a little bit of a room for the cloud. So that represents about where I want my top two lines, or where they need to be as far as spacing, depending on how crowded I get at the bottom of the sign. So then again, I'm going to have a cloud or a box around these letters because they're outset. And then the pictures are going to be here. So now what I'm going to do is the next two lines are Kevin and Becky Wallace, and I've got my letters there. So these, now everything from here down is going to be all inset. So the Kevin and Becky Wallace and Manteca, California, that is all going to be, these are all going to be, basically they're 1-inch letters. So I'm going to do two lines of 1-inch letters here. And again, I'm just kind of laying these out and putting them as I go down. So right now, I'm just figuring out where I'm going to draw my lines. The next line is the engine. And you can see these are more like 3/4, a little bit more than 3/4, and these are 1 inch. So the rest of them will be 3/4. So the next line is engine. The next line after that is transmission. And then the next line is differential. The next line is paint. And next line is built. And then down here we have a dedication to Kevin's mom and dad. And that's going to be smaller letters, which are, I can't remember the font. I'll put the font across the screen. But there's going to be 3 lines here. And so we're going to kind of come up from the bottom. I'm just going to put 3 lines there. We're going to come up from the bottom where those 3 lines will be. And that in essence is kind of the way I figure this stuff out. So now it looks like, well, I've got plenty of room. I've still got plenty of room to do my outset letters here. Now what I'm going to do, like they've done on this poster, I'm just going to kind of say, all right, well, I want some room in between the dedication down here and the details of the car. So then I'll just kind of eyeball where I want to put that stuff. And I'm just eyeballing this right now, but what I'll use is I'll use my tape measure, or I'll use something to space that. And it could even be another letter. Let's say we want 1 inch in between. Now that'd be a little bit too much, but let's take a letter, and we can actually use a letter for spacing. And see if that's going to work out. That actually, I think that works out pretty well. That gives it nice, and you see there's quite a bit of space in between these lines. I think that gives it pretty good, and we can even come up a little bit, because these are going to be, again, these are going to be inset as well. This is all going to be inset stuff. So that's kind of how I figure that stuff out, guys. And these could even be crowded a little bit more, because this dedication to give us a little bit more space there. So that's how I'm going to do it. So what I'll do is I'll take my pencil, whatever I've done with it.
It's on the other side over here.
I'll take my pencil. Once I know for sure that that's where those are going to be, I'll make a little mark where those are. Then I'll take, I can do a measurement, or this is really cool, a T-square that Bob Hatch sent me. Makes it real nice. That's how I drew the lines for the border, and I'll draw those lines. And then when I get ready to lay this thing out, guys, I'm just going to take it probably one section at a time. So off camera, I'm going to go ahead and shore up this spacing, make sure this spacing is exactly how I want it. I'm going to do that off camera, and then make my marks, draw my lines, and then when we come back, we'll start laying out, and we'll get these out of the way. And we'll just start laying it out one line at a time, 1 or 2 lines at a time, rather than what I've made mistakes in the past about putting all the letters on there at one time and then spraying everything at one time. While that saves you in masking tape, man, it doesn't take but one thing to go wrong. You kind of drag your pencil or whatever, and then all of a sudden you've got a really big mess. And with these fat fingers of mine, I realized long ago that I'm better off taking 1 or 2 lines at a time, masking off everything else, getting that laid out, and moving on and moving my way down the board. So it's just kind of little things that I've picked up. You guys might have a better way to do it, and hey, whatever works for you, but this process definitely works for me. So stick with us. We'll be back, and when we come back, we'll start doing some spraying. Okay, so we got the top 2 lines laid out. This line was a little bit close, so I dropped it down. Once I started laying those letters out on there, I just didn't like the way it looked. It looked a little too crowded, so I dropped that one down a little bit, but we still got plenty of room to work with lengthwise. I don't normally do this inside, but there's like a windstorm going on outside, and so I don't think we'd get a really good spray if we tried to do it outside today. So I am just using the primer, a flat black primer. I didn't put any sanding sealer on here because this is redwood, and generally speaking, that's not an issue. Bleeding is not an issue with the redwood. Although if you're an oversprayer, it could be an issue. So you definitely don't want to overspray. I normally do it in short spurts. Some people do it other ways. I feel I have a little bit more control by just doing it in short spurts. I think that's going to give us a good enough line to go by. So then what I'll do is, we know the pictures are going to go down here. We'll move beyond that, and these are pretty much almost dry now. Well, not quite, but close. Anyway, so this is going to look good, and we're just going to move our way down the board. So when we get down to where we're doing some more, we'll come back and show you what this looks like. We'll be right back. All right, folks, so we did the first line for the owners, Kevin and Becky Wallace, Manteca, California. That's underneath here, and the second line here is all the specifics of the car. So we figured we'd come on and just go ahead and lay that out on camera.
So much easier doing it one line at a time.
It really is, guys. It would be, it takes a little bit longer. I think it probably does take a little bit longer, but it takes the stress out of it. So many times I had laid out in the past, over the years, laid out multiple lines of a sign like this all in one time, and then something would happen and I'd knock the board or whatever, and it would just mess everything up. So I really encourage you guys, try this if you haven't tried this. When you have a project like this, take it one line at a time. Take your time. Don't be in a rush. Double, triple, quadruple check your spelling. We're doing that line by line as we go. And it just, for me, it takes all the stress out of it, of having all those letters on that board all at one time and then try and spray it all at one time. This just, for me, is a much easier way to do it. So anyway, guys, we're going to do the rest of this off camera. When we come back, we're going to get into the carving. So we'll be right back. All right, the layout is all done. Man, what a task that was, laying all those little letters out. But the layout is all done. We are ready to start carving, but unfortunately, we're out of time. What do we figure? Is about 2.5 hours to lay this thing out? Is that about what we've been working on?
Right about, yeah.
Yeah. But now obviously on a sign like this, guys, layout is the toughest part. I think the carving will be easier. Famous last words. Let's hope. Let's hope that's the way it works out. Anyway, kind of excited to get into it and start carving. I really like these fonts, these two different fonts that I picked here. These are, pretty much standard like we use, but I'm kind of looking forward to carving all those inside letters. Anyway, guys, so we've got a lot of elements going on here. You'll see the border as we move on, but that'll be on the next video. So thanks so much for watching. Hope this was helpful. I really wanted to go into a lot of detail on this layout because I haven't done that in a while, and this one is so much copy on there. I wanted to try and help you guys when you get projects like this. So thanks again for watching. We love you, and if you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love for you to subscribe. Don't forget about our premium memberships, our executive memberships, and all of our courses. We're starting to do more and more courses, all on the website, makeawoodsign.com. I got my sign. Well, let me see. Let me set this down. So that's the website. And if I can answer any questions for you, email me directly, eric@makeawoodsign.com. Thanks, guys. We love you. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.